Episode 49 of the Bmoney Beastin podcast. I've said this for the past 9 episodes. I never thought I would make it this far, but here we are, episode 49. This is awesome. I'm here with Bella Sanchez. She's awesome. I actually met her yesterday. I've known her for a while through Instagram and my connection with Ground Zero Wrestling up in Tennessee. She recently won state in freestyle and Greco in the state of Tennessee and qualified for Fargo. She's an upcoming sophomore, I do believe, at Independence High School.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that right? See, look, I'm getting it already. All right, that's awesome, dude. Before we get going, though, I want to show something here. You sent me this photo today, and that's our character, Savage. We haven't put her in the game yet at all. She's just a character we had, and somehow during these dual teams, we were getting this character art, right, for these singlets, for these dual teams. And somehow we only ended up with 2 of these. So you and Michaela McKinley Kova, the girl that leg cradles everybody out in California that has a meme of herself, are the only 2 people in existence that has that singlet. So I just think that's super cool. I hope you enjoy it and wear it and have fun with it.
I really do enjoy it.
So that's cool. I didn't mean for it to be like a short print or anything like that, but it just kind of worked out that way. And I was like, dude, that's kind of cool that a character we haven't even put in the game yet has like a short printed singlet. So I just thought that was kind of cool. So tell me about you, Miss Sanchez. How did you get into scrapping?
So I started back in 6th grade at Heritage Middle School. We have a small middle school, and we didn't really have a big team. And my parents, when I hit 6th grade, they told me that I had to do some type of activity. And I remember looking through the activity list that I saw wrestling, and I was like, you know what? Why not? So I came home from middle school, maybe a month in, and I came home to my dad outside, coming home from work, and I was like, guess what? I made the wrestling team. And he was just standing there in disbelief because I think that was probably the last thing that he expected me to pick out of everything that I could have done.
Earlier in your life or anything like that? Leading into this?
I've never seen wrestling before.
Did you play softball or anything like that?
I have never seen anything.
So you never played an organized sport until the 6th grade of any kind?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So that's what I was trying to understand, because you're like, Dad's shocked here. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like you talk to, I've interviewed several, teenage age wrestlers or whatever, and they've all have like some kind of backstory of an athletic background of some kind, right? Like Shy,
Yeah.
Shy, right?
Yes, sir.
She was into jujitsu, right? Like she did jujitsu. Like everybody had like a backstory, but you just didn't. They just my dad's like, hey, you need to wrestle. You need to do something. And out of all that you could pick, you picked wrestling. And 6th grade, that was the first introduction into sports at all.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. Continue.
So I started my 6th grade year, and I had all of these big people on my team. I had Tanner Tran from Father Ryan.
Yep, we know Tanner.
Then I had Merc Romano from Independence. His brother is Riddick. And I just had all of these big people on our team. And I came in as a 6th grader that was 110. And everyone in that room was definitely not what I expected, because I didn't know what wrestling was until my dad showed me a couple of videos. And I was like, okay, this could be fun. And I just remember the first practice, I was getting thrown around. I was getting thrown around by all these big people that I've never heard of, and I was kind of like, well, that was fun.
No.
So I stayed that entire season, and I had my 6th grade coach was Kyle Stagner, who is now at Smyrna High School. He changed schools after my 6th grade season, and he was the one that got me into it. He got me my spot on the team. He made sure that I had all the stuff for the practices and stuff like that. So he was definitely a big part of it. And 6th grade we didn't know about girls wrestling. So I would have to go out there, and I was JV. Yeah, I didn't
You
expect
you
much.
wrestled boys all the way through middle school, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So when did so you were a freshman this past year, so you actually wrestled a girls schedule, right? This past season.
Yes, sir. I only wrestled girls in ninth grade.
But in middle school, every one of your matches, you probably wrestled a girl what, maybe twice the whole time you were in middle school?
In middle school, I think out of the entire 3 years, I've wrestled a girl twice.
So that's kind of what I was thinking, right? Like I remember, Bryson's your age, right?
Yes.
Were you 15? 15?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So Bryson's 15. So he was a couple years behind like Piper, right? Like in turn when we go to like Cleveland's camps. And I remember one time, like somehow we ended up at a middle school like duel or tournament or something. I forget how the hell we got there. But Piper was like wrecking boys in middle school, right? like,
Yes, sir.
and she, she just graduated. He'll be a sophomore. You'll be a sophomore. So yeah, she's like 3 years ahead. And I remember thinking like that's not the norm, right? Because like when you look at it, around that time, that like eighth grade, ninth grade age is when boys start hitting puberty and they're full of testosterone. And in reality, it's not a fair fight, right? Like for
No,
her, it didn't
sir.
matter. She's just otherworldly, right? Like, but I remember watching her in a couple of matches. First time, now we had seen Piper at like the Boston camps and stuff, but like I didn't really know her. And this is before she won worlds and all that. But I watched her wrestle a couple of matches, and she's just like smashing boys. And I'm like, dude, that's wow. And fast forward a little bit, like 3 years ago, we went out to VAC, the youth tournament, the VAC out in Virginia Beach. And Bryson, since we're talking about girls and boys, I'll tell you this story. He wrestled this girl named Lyric Hetzer. She's all over social media. She just won like Pan Ams or something. We wrestled her the first time at the Tyrant Duels in Ohio, and Bryson barely beat her. He beat her like 5-4. All right, and he comes off breathing heavy, and he's like, "What the dude?" and then you fast forward, they wrestled each other again at VAC, and she beat him 5-4. And he's like,
Wow.
"Dude, I just lost to a girl." I was like, "Yeah, you lost to a pretty badass girl, bro. It's all good." And so like girls wrestling's kind of been the reason I'm telling you this. It's kind of been like on the come up for a while. That was a couple of years back. But now that states are actually saying, hey, we need girls programs across different states and areas, and I think that the growth plus that college is about to make women's wrestling a Division I sport. So now, like if I had a daughter, which I got a pseudo daughter, but she's about to be a senior and she plays soccer, and I couldn't get her to wrestle if I wanted to. But if I had one now, the first thing I would do is put her on a mat because there's so much opportunity, right? Like I think there's so much opportunity for young girls to develop and even develop at a slow pace. But by the time it matters when they're seniors, they're going to get they could get a free education. And with NIL coming up and coming through, like that's a whole nother avenue. You could actually make money wrestling. Like, so it's a unique dynamic now. And the competition of it right now ain't as high as it's going to be in 10 years, right? In 10 years, it's going to be loaded. All girls are going to wrestle. Right now, it's a niche kind of thing. So you kind of hit this at a good time.
Yes.
So tell me, like, you stuck through it. You got beat on for 3 years, right? And what did you do like during that middle school time? How did you kind of handle like it's kind of hard to lose, right? Like it sucks, right?
Yes, sir.
And dude, I don't want to lose at dominoes. Like I get pissed when we play Mat Clash and I get beat, right? I'm like, damn it.
Yes,
And
sir.
yeah, so like everybody is people, or most people are competitive in nature, right? So like, how did you handle that? Like every week I'm going out and getting my ass kicked, right? Like, but I kept showing up, which shows resiliency, and that's a great quality to have. But how did you manage that? Did you see like, okay, I'm going to get to high school and they got a girls program, or you could see the light at the end of the tunnel. How did you handle that at such a young age?
So after middle school season, my dad invested in a club and we joined Williamson County. And I think that was definitely one of the strongest like obstacles that I had to overcome, which sounds really weird, but it's because every single time that I'd step into that practice room, I was a girl. I barely knew what I was doing, and I was inside a room with all of these top kids because we were one of the biggest clubs. And
up in that area, yeah.
because we had a bunch of good people on our team, and I was a new girl. I was a girl, so that was obviously one of the differentiations that like people would look at me and be like, I don't know if I want to practice with her. And I just remember every single practice whenever we'd have to go like warm ups and then they'd say grab a partner. I would always be the girl that was standing in the middle of the mat looking around at everyone else who had a partner, and it was always the worst.
It's like being picked
And
last in kickball.
it is being picked last in kickball. And there was a bunch of people, I mean, here and there that would be like, oh, I'll be your partner. And I think that was definitely something that definitely helped me. But I think what made it worse is it was about sixth grade, and every single time that I would end up with some kid who definitely did not want to be my partner at first, they beat me in like 20 seconds. And I would be like, oh my gosh. And so I would definitely be always the last to be picked. And that was just something that you've always just kind of got to work through. I mean, once I hit maybe seventh or eighth grade, I definitely had more people that were like, oh, we can practice. Even if like they barely knew me or I barely knew them. It was just one of those things where it's kind of like, I don't need to know who you are to get better kind of thing. Because it was always just the worst to be the last to be picked in a practice room.
You know, I'll say this, all right? Like, I've been around this culture now for like 10 years, right? Like, forever. And one thing I'll notice, all right, it comes in waves, right? Like, it's weird. Like, when you're on top, when you win something big or you place at something big, everybody's trying to get you to, hey, come to our place for, we're going to do like a 2-a-day. And if you have a bad loss or something happens, you're just like an afterthought, right? Like it's like, what have you done for me lately? When here's the truth, man. And the reason I keep popping my neck, for some reason, I got like this kink in my neck. It's ridiculous. I'm getting old. Just wait till you get to be my age. But it's like this ridiculous stigma whenever you look at, like, if you watch, I'm sure you watch the NCAAs, right?
Yes, sir.
How many matches have you seen in the national quarterfinals? We'll just make it up. It's like a 3-1 match, right? Everybody is on a certain level, right? Like when you get to that level. And just because somebody beats somebody doesn't make the other guy bad. When you got guys that go 0-2, like at nationals, does that make Ja'Cory Teamer went 0-2? Is he a bad wrestler?
No, sir.
So there's a stigma there that I don't necessarily agree with. And that's something like with me, like that I have a long-term goal with Mat Clash that there, and I put a post up about it a few weeks ago about how we're missing like the developmental stage of the sport, right? It's just not there. And there's like beginner programs that last like 6 weeks and they're like 2 days a week. And it's almost like, okay, you spend 30 minutes playing dodgeball and then you drill a double leg for 30 minutes and you send them home. Okay, cool. There's no in the middle, right? It goes from beginners where you're not really learning much, or if you are learning something, you're not getting enough of it in volume and in terms of to get better. And then you get thrown to the wolves. So it's like a rinse repeat kind of thing where you're not given that middle ground to let people develop. And I think that's just missing. Like, I think that needs, because just like you said, right? You were technically a beginner, right? But
Yes, sir.
and and here's the truth, man. When you got a kid that's pretty good at it already, he doesn't want to go with a, or she doesn't want it. It's just the way it is, right? You don't want to go back and have to, you just don't. And is that the right thing to do? No, but it's such a competitive thing that you're like, oh, what if I get a step slower? Or what if, it's like, it's all bullshit, right? To be honest with you, but like, that's the way it's looked at. So how do you get beginners that are starting to kind of catch the hang of things and get them brought up and like develop them at a higher pace where they can go and compete with these better kids. That's what's missing, I feel like, in the sport. Like you said, your dad invested in a club, which is great, dude. I love that. That's awesome. But then what happened? You're in there and you get thrown to the wolves, right? There's really not a developmental stage. You just kind of trial by fire, which has proven to do good for you, as we see now. And that does have, and it takes a lot of mental toughness to go through that. And when you were saying your biggest thing was getting picked last, dude, that is hard for a kid in general, let alone a 12-year-old girl. That's like, I'm just guessing you were like 11, 12 years old. That's like, nobody wants to wrestle me. Like, this makes me feel awful. I can see that, right? But to get through that is amazing. And to get where you are now is amazing, because that just shows a lot of fortitude that a lot of kids don't have. Most kids at that point would have quit, right? Most kids would have just said, this ain't for me, I'm done. And that's what wrestling really builds, and why I'm such an advocate for it. It builds that mental toughness, that grit, that push through adversity, because the rest of your life you're going to face things, right? Like, and I'm 37 years old, and if I wrote a book, you'd be like, holy shit, dude, what? How's he walking? Right? Like, so you're gonna face things your whole life, and that's amazing that you got through that. But that goes back to what I was saying about development. Like, having a club's one thing, but having a structure, and I think Randall does it really well, right? Like how he kind of breaks things apart. So like, I think that's such an amazing thing for your area up there, right? Like, I live about 90 miles from there, I guess is where we're at. And, you know, I drove up there yesterday. I hadn't been up there but one other time. I love how he's got that structured up there. He does it's such an amazing opportunity for you kids in that area to have something like that's broken down the way that he does it. But you got through it, and you got to your freshman year after getting beat up by boys. So what happened? Like, tell me about your freshman season. You kind of went through the club scene. When did you start going to Ground Zero too? Throw that in there. Like, when did that happen? And then into your freshman year.
So I joined Ground Zero when I think it was Iowa and Iowa State had the wrestling duel. And
oh, yeah.
We had the watch party, and I have never heard of Ground Zero. And I remember seeing the flyer, and I was like, I want to see that. That's so cool. So I messaged Randall, and I was like, hey, I'm like an hour away, but I'm not a part of this club. Am I still welcome to come? And that's when he said, of course you can come down and see everything. And that was at the time that it was in his garage.
Yeah.
And I think it was the end of 8th grade year or the middle of 8th grade year that I just saw this, and I was like, I want to do this. And it was the watch party, and then we had open mats afterwards. And I went down there and I met with Shy. And we were down there and we watched the watch party, and then afterwards at the open mats, we wrestled live for I think an hour. And I just remember coming off the mat. I mean, it was hot in there. I was all sweaty. I probably looked disgusting. And my dad was outside in the car, and I was like, you got to come inside and look at this. It was the greatest thing probably that I've had in a while, just to be in there with other girls. And then more people that were, even though that they like knew that I wasn't as good, they still gave me more opportunities. And then Randall, even too, being able to wrestle with him for a little. And I just remember going outside. I was all sweaty. I probably looked disgusting. And I was up to my dad's car, and I was like, you got to come in here. And my dad talked with Randall for a little, and he told us about the practices once they moved into the new building. And then throughout that entire summer, I went down to Ground Zero and I wrestled with them. And then eventually I started doing their dual teams with them as their 110. And I think that was probably the coolest experience that I had, being on a girls' dual team.
Right. Were you on the one last year where we did those pink singlets?
The Ladies of the Smokies.
Did you go to that?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, yeah, dude. Over the summer, he like messaged me, Randall did, and he's like, "Hey, we're doing this dual team in Gatlinburg." He said, "Could you do some gear for us?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." He said, "I said, I'll tell you what, I'll do it. We'll just break even on it, and I'll just help you get it off the ground." And that's what we came up with, is that pink and black. And I always loved that. I thought that was really cool. I see him wearing the shirt still to this day here and there. I think that's pretty cool.
We wrestled Ladies of the Smokies. I think I went 107 for the individual, and then I went 110 for the duels.
Okay.
And I think I ended up I went 4-1 in the duels, but I won the individual.
There you go. Look. Yeah, dude. Yeah, getting your ass kicked by a bunch of boys helps, right? I'm guessing you had a go or two with Tran, right, over the years.
Yep.
Tanner, dude, Tanner used to come to the Boston camps, and him and Bryson would have some like crazy goes, man. And I always liked that kid. Like, I don't know, he's a good one. But dude, I tell you what, even though you had a trial by fire kind of like introduction to the sport, it's amazing how like energetic and like thankful and like excited you are about it.
Yes, sir.
And I'll say this, like you said, you started in 6th grade. In middle school, my first challenge match lasted like, I don't know, 45 seconds. Like I tried to blast a heavyweight and I weighed like 160 pounds and I got put on my back and stuck, and that was like it, right? and I remember, dude, like I wasn't very good, like ever, right? Like I just wasn't. I was a good football player, but I wasn't a great wrestler. I was, I don't know, middle of the road at best, if that. And I'm okay with that, right? Like whatever. Looking back on it, I remember the one when you were talking about getting picked last. I have something kind of similar to that. When I remember, I wasn't on varsity at one point in middle school. And I grew up a big WWE fan. All right. When I was like, 10, 11 years old or whatever. And the team came out to the Triple H like entrance song, which is like by Motorhead. And it's like it's awesome, right? Like when you get off here, get on YouTube, look up Motorhead, the game. It's an awesome song, right? And I'm like, dude, I got to do that. and I remember how upset I was because there's only a couple of times in my life that I wasn't like I was a 3-year starter on the football team in high school, right? Like I didn't have many moments where I wasn't part of it, right? Like, and that was one of them. And I remember that and getting cut from the 8th grade baseball team were like my 2 biggest defeats in life, right? Like this is brutal. So I completely relate to what you're saying. And the thing about where I grew up, like you guys don't understand, like your generation, like there wasn't training centers and things like when we were kids. Like we didn't know what the hell wrestling was. We thought it was Rey Mysterio, right? Like we didn't know, like until middle school, like what wrestling the sport was. Like we didn't know. So like having these opportunities like now where you have like a school schedule and then like you can go to training centers and clubs, it's a game changer, man. That's why all you kids are so much better now than like the generation before you, because you got all these opportunities, like, and it's so available, which is great. Like, I love it. I wish there was a club on every fucking corner, but in reality, it's just not feasible sometimes. But where you're at with Randall right there, he opened that in such a remote area that it opened opportunities for all these kids in high schools in like a radius up there that wouldn't normally have that, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you ever go up and see Hatcher?
I do. That is the club that I wrestled. I think I wrestled 2 of the 5 tournaments that I competed in for freestyle and Greco. I think I did it with Hatcher. And I would go up there a lot, and that was definitely one of the other humbling things, was going up there with them. And not only that, there are girls, but it happened to be the days that I would go, there wouldn't be any. And I would get stuck with some 145.
Oh, yeah, dude. I'll tell you what, Mike is the coolest dude on the planet. now that we're kind of on common ground now, Hatcher used to be in Chattanooga, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
he would have these, he was at UTC for a while, and like Noah Castillo's running a camp for me, just won the Southern Conference. He recruited Noah Castillo to UTC. That's a true story. Noah told me the story. But Mike used to have these like privates, or not like these group privates at Baylor years ago. And that's when I first met him. And basically you just go in, you give him like $20. There's like 50 kids in there and they just beat the piss out of each other for 2 hours. Like that's kind of how it went. And it was kind of like before Minion showed up in Chattanooga, right? And that was like our Minion at the time. Like we had Grindhouse was our main club and whatever, but before Minion was like in downtown, that was it. Hatcher would do like these privates. And then he went to Boyd Buchanan one year to run freestyle. And I hadn't seen him in like maybe a couple of years because he had like either moved off or he's always going to Cuba or something, whatever he does, right? And he comes in, I'll never forget this. He's wearing like a Scarface suit. Like he walks into the wrestling room at Boyd Buchanan looking like Tony Montana. And I'm like, what is he doing? And he just politely goes into the other room and he's folding up his shirt and he comes out with his workout clothes and off they went. But he come in literally looking like every day for like a month, looking like Tony Montana. I'm like, dude, he sells cocaine or something. I was like, he's got to, like, what's good? I don't know. But, dude, he's doing a great job, too, up in that area with that Young Guns Club. And I just love it for the South, man, like, in general. Like, we're from Georgia. And Georgia's always had, like, a lot of training centers throughout the state, like everywhere. Tennessee's starting to get them now. They're starting to pop up all over the place. And give it another 5 years, I think Tennessee starts kind of gaining ground. I think that's a great thing. So tell me about your freshman year. You finally get to wrestle girls.
I do. So I started at 107 for the preseason, and I was doing pretty good. I didn't really have much competition. And so I wrestled 107, and then the first tournament that we had, I went up to 114 because I was like, I can't keep doing this. If it's going to be 2 other girls in my weight, I can beat them. I wanted more. So I go up to 114, and yeah, that was the biggest bracket in our entire state for everything.
Really?
Yep,
Okay.
we'd always have a 32-man bracket, and I was not ready for that.
For girls state, that was a
32-man bracket. 114.
So do you think you would have won 107?
I think I could have done better than I ended at 107.
Like I'm a big anti-weight cutting guy, right? Like I understand like going to NHSCA, right? Or going to Super 32. You'd have to cut weight, right? But I don't understand I don't get in high school season, like even middle school season, right? Where you have to make weight like 3 times a week. And you got guys cutting the girls, 15 pounds or whatever. Jesus Christ, dude. Now, if you get through it and you're not, because here's the thing, like I've been talking to Anthony Knox's father, right? He does Cut Pro. And you notice we kind of collab with him now a little bit. And he was talking about how on one of his videos, like you lose 30% of your performance. I think it's like at a certain dehydration level. I forget what it was. Go check it out. Cut Pro, give them a shout out. But kind of listening to how he was talking, it's like that makes a lot of sense. Like, so how can you compete at your best and feel like crap? I don't know. I'm just anti, like, and Bryson's like that, dude. He went to freshman state, like, I don't know back in February. And he says, I said, dude, what do you weigh? He goes, like, 128. I was like, okay. So you going to go 26? He goes, nah. I said, you get like 2 pounds. You're like on weight for 26. He goes, yeah, but I'm going to eat this cereal. So I'm just going to go whatever the next one is. I was like, really? He's like, Yeah. I was like, okay. He didn't give a shit. It's like, I'll just, whatever. And like the other day, we were at the doctor and he gets on the scale and he's like, I think he was like 138 pounds. I about shit myself. I was like, what? And he goes, dude, that's like a practice, man. I'll be like 32. He's like, I was like, why are you? He's like, I'm growing, man. I don't care. I was like, so I think there's something to be said for like big tournaments, planning at a weight cut or whatever. But I think it was actually better for you, in my opinion. Like you said it yourself, you wanted more. It gets boring going out and throwing somebody on their back and just pinning them, right? So like you want to get better, and that's how you did it. And even if it cost you like winning a quote unquote state champion, who gives a shit, right? Like that's awesome that you did that. What were you weighing physically at that point in time through that process of wrestling 14?
I weighed about 113. So I
So you
wasn't,
were just spot on.
yes, sir.
So that actually made it more fun too, right? You didn't really have to worry, did you?
No, I mean, I was 107. I could be 107. It would just mean like I'd be on a fasting schedule. I'd watch what I eat, but I was completely healthy. I mean, I wasn't cutting, but whenever I hit 114, I was like, I can eat the morning of weigh-ins,
Yeah,
which definitely was one of my favorites.
of course, dude. Like the greatest story I can ever tell you that you. I'm enjoying this right now because I can tell you about how I relate to this. 2000, like I don't know, 2021, Bryson won his only U State championship down in Georgia. The only year he ever actually won U State in Georgia. I think him and James Severs, who's at a Social Circle, he's a two-time high school champ now, are the only two, or are like tied for the most like second places in the state of Georgia. I think they're tied. But that year, I remember he was in the hallway and his mother had taken him. I didn't go that year. And he's standing on the scale, weighing in with a donut in his mouth. And I thought I wish I could find that picture. That is the greatest thing. He's literally, his singlets down, he's barefooted, and he's got a donut in his mouth. And I was like, there you go. Because, dude, like you said, you get up in the morning, like if you can have a good schedule, which it's cool, like, a couple pounds. But if you're able to eat in the morning and just kind of see in the afternoon, maybe have some water and a snack, you're going to wrestle so much better than if you're way dehydrated and you got an hour till you rest. Like, come on, dude. It's just, and I think a lot of people cut weight the wrong way too, right? Like, and I think that you got these kids out here now, which you didn't go through this, thank God, but you got kids, and I'm even guilty of it, dude. I remember like I did it to Bryson. I didn't know how to cut weight. He just starved out for like days on end, and like it's not feasible. So especially when you're a kid that's growing, so like you need to grow, right? You're only going to grow once. You're going to see guys out there when you get to college. Say when you get to college, you'll watch college guys wrestle. And there's a guy on that team that's wrestling 25 that probably should weigh 160, and he's going to be like 4 foot tall for the rest of his life. Like, you know what I mean? So you ended up your freshman year. I think you sent me 36-11.
Yes, sir.
Dude, like that's a win. You started in 6th grade. You got beat up by boys. You finally get to wrestle girls. It was a little easy for you, so you bumped yourself up. Dude, this is impressive. This is impressive. So, what are your goals? Like, do you plan to go to Fargo, or are you just going to kind of train through the summer? What's your plans through the summer?
So I think my plan is it's either I will go just to be able to get the excitement out of the way, to know what Fargo is, and then be ready to go because I'm the youngest in the age grouping. I have never been. It's one of those exciting things. I mean, I qualified. That is the coolest thing ever. And it's just one of those things where you probably see this tournament and you're like, that would be so cool to be a part of. And I think the excitement is what really wants me to go. And then being able to know what to expect whenever I come back next year. So I'm thinking that we will go.
that, you know, from an experience standpoint, I can see that being awesome. I think that the whole concept is awesome, but when how the freestyle season kind of unfolds, right? You got multiple chances to qualify, and you got multiple chances to like improve your seating, right? Like if like you won state. Did you go to Southeast Regional?
No, sir.
Okay. Like Southeast Regional is like apparently if you read USA Wrestling site, you can kind of like gain points or whatever to your pin rating or whatever the hell it is. I don't know. But so you got like a first chance and a second chance and whatever, and that's awesome. And it comes down to me, like when I look at it, the risk reward on your what you're paying and what you're getting out of it, right? Like that's just my opinion on it. I think it's a great thing, but I can tell you right now, when you look at brackets at Fargo, you know the 5 to 6 to 8 kids that are going to win it. You just know, right? Like, and now every now and then there's like a couple shockers. Like, I mean, it's pretty cool, but you look at the schedule. Dude, it looks brutal. We've never been out there, right? Like qualified 2 years in a row. We hadn't been. We did go to the schoolboy duels a couple years ago in PA, and that was a freaking grind, dude. You're talking 6 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night for 4 straight days. Like, bro. So I can just imagine that you're going to be really tired when you come back. Because you look at it, it's just how it's broke down, you know. And if you stay in it, you have to make weight more than once. So it's like, so that's kind of one of those things too, right? You got kids, you got different states that qualify. Did Tennessee do day of weigh-ins for state, or did they do day before?
They had both. I did day before, but I wasn't really close on weight. I just wanted to get it out of the way.
Yeah, yeah. I just wondered because like Georgia, they're always day of, right? And then I don't know, what Alabama or anybody else does, but I just know Georgia's day of. And you can tell the kids that are sucking down, right? Because they're trying to get qualified at a specific weight, right? But if it's going to be day before, like at Fargo, why don't you do day before across the board at every state, right? But then at the same time, it's like a catch-22 because if you stay in it, there's that like second day or whatever you have to make weight again, or the third day or whatever it is on the schedule. It's like, so it's kind of, there's really no like easy way, right, to across the board. Because I'll tell you right now, if we went, he ain't going to wrestle 38 at Fargo. He'd wrestle like 20, right? You know what I mean? So like, he didn't even qualify, but I think you can go up and down a weight. I think that's how that works. I don't know. But I hope you do go. And if you do, I'm going to definitely pay attention and watch some matches. Like, I'm a fan now. So you went 36 and 11, then you won Freestyle and Greco State. You qualified for Fargo. That could be something you're training for the summer. What's your goal as a sophomore in the state of Tennessee that you want to accomplish through your sophomore season?
I want to be able to go to state. This year, I had the biggest bracket in the region, probably the biggest bracket overall out of all the 4 regions. And we had the seating meeting, and I was placed 3rd, which the top like 4 are going to be the ones that like meet, ideally the top 4 that go to state. And I was placed at 3. And so the whole thing was usually the top 4 wouldn't lose that early and go all the way back through the bracket. Just because it's like we had this rule where it's like you can't wrestle a certain amount of matches a day. So we had that rule still. They have to do it for some tournaments. I'm not sure why. That's sometimes why they split multiple tournaments like into a couple days or so. But we had that rule because that's how the boys' rule was. But they had subsectionals, sectionals, all that. And so I was ranked at 3rd, and I had a first round match. I won that. And then the girl that I beat earlier in the season, I lost to. And by that point, I was like, okay, well, now I have to go all the way backwards. So out of the 32-man bracket, I had to go all the way back through, and I was so tired. They stopped doing the 30-minute rest periods because we were just taking way too long. I mean, we weren't going to finish this tournament before like 12 or something. I mean, it was getting crazy. So they got rid of the 30-minute rest period. So I would go at most a 5-minute match, maybe have 5 to 10 minutes at most, then go back out and wrestle. And that was terrible. And by my very last match, it wasn't to qualify for fifth, but it was the one before that. So I lost that match and I was just out of the tournament. But
That,
something about it too was with the rule about you can't wrestle many times that day, that would have been my last match either way because of the rule. I couldn't have been able to wrestle anymore that day.
that you know that's the thing. Like in the youth circuit, middle school duels and stuff like that, they'll wrestle 9 matches, and you'll just keep going. Like that is tough though on anybody, right? Like especially, dude, I'm telling you, one thing I hate now that you said that, like true second's one of the worst too, right? You ever got in this position, had to wrestle for true second? All
Yes,
right, like
sir.
I just battled my ass off. I made the finals and I get my ass kicked, and now you're expecting me to defend what I made, what I got to. Like I just, when you're on emotional up and downs, that's even hard. But whenever you look at a bracket, I'm guessing you lost in the quarters, right? So you probably had to win like what 4, something like that, 3 or 4 to get back.
I think I wrestled 5 to get back.
Gee, yeah. So you were in a big bracket, yeah. So, dude, like the only thing I can relate to that from personal experience is years ago at Tulsa. Bryson lost his first match 4-3 to some kid from California right off the rip. And the year before, he went 0-2 out there. And he was like up in the stands and he's like, look, you could just see it in his face. He's like, I can't let this happen again. And he ripped off 7 in a row. I don't know how he did it. And we cried in the hallway. He ended up placing 5th, I think, or whatever. And it was awesome. And dude, it was taxing. Like he was down in one match, like by one point with like 8 seconds to go, and he got a takedown. Like it was like razor thin. And that's hard. That's hard. Now that was drug over like 3 days, right? Like 2 or 3 days. You're talking about an afternoon, man. That's hard. I noticed. Did you wrestle in that Ironman up there in Knoxville?
Yes, sir, I did.
Is that the first year you ever been up there? Or did you go to it when it was up in Murfreesboro?
I didn't go that year. I think that week was the same week as Adidas Nationals, and I went up to Adidas
Oh yeah,
Nationals
yeah,
when
yeah,
it was
yeah.
down in Murfreesboro. But this was the first year that I actually went to the Ironman.
It was funny
Um,
because like they did a beach wrestling thing, which is dumb to
they
do in
did.
Tennessee. That's my opinion. Why do that in Tennessee? If we're in Florida, it makes sense. But come on. The reason I brought that up is like years ago that tournament, like people would do freestyle and Greco. Most of them wouldn't do folk style because you're talking the one year they did them all. Like Bryson went up there with Josh Boskin, right, one year, and dude, he wrestled Riley Sturgill. You know Riley Sturgill at
Yes,
Baylor
sir.
at like 2 o'clock in the morning or something, right? Like they were wrestling folk style like 2 o'clock in the morning, and dude, it to me like that's that same scenario, right? Like in that day, like those kids were wrestling like 15 matches in one day. They were trying to do all 3 styles in one day. Like you have to like spread that out. Like that's tough, and that's a tough break for you through your region. It was region that happened to
Yes,
you.
sir.
So your goal is to make it to state. And it's great to make small goals, right? This is I want to qualify. Once you qualify, you say I'm going to win it, right? Like
Yes,
and
sir.
and that's great, dude. I love your outlook, bro. I'm rooting for you, like I am. So what? Let's just get to know you though, since we're on this. We've talked about a lot of wrestling. You never played sports growing up.
No,
You
sir.
somehow ended up becoming a wrestler, which is the coolest thing in the world. But like, what are you into outside of sports? Like, what are your hobbies? Do you like comic books? Do you like music? Like, what do you do?
So I was in art for 3
Awesome.
years. So I'm big on art, and then besides that, I did track a
Okay, so
little.
you did do a sport. Okay.
It was 6th grade. Instead of doing freestyle for 6th grade, I didn't know what it was at the time, and my dad was talking to me, and he was like, "I'm not sure if you're ready to do this yet, so you don't have to." And I just remember seeing the track tryouts. I was like, "I'm gonna be a runner." At the tryouts, I was so bad at running, and then they handed me a ball. I threw it, and they were like, "You know what? You're on the team." And I came back, and I was like, "I'm not running. I am throwing a ball."
You threw shot put?
Yes, sir.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Like we got a lot in common. In high school, I seen a girl that I was like, oh, she's cute. What's her name? And I seen my middle school football coach was coaching high school track. I was walking to baseball tryouts. True story. And I'm like, all right, I got this is my way in. So I went and talked to him to try to talk to her because that's what teenage boys do. And that she was throwing discus. All right. I had never thrown a discus in my life. And he's like, hey, Drennan, you want to try this? I was like, yeah, sure. I threw it. And he's like, hey, you want to do this? I was like, yeah. So I stayed there my freshman year and I threw discus. And at the region tournament, I broke the school record. I don't remember what it was, like 138 or whatever the hell. I don't remember what it was. I go to the state tournament. And if I would have thrown that at the state tournament, I'd have placed like 8 out of like 300 kids. I threw like half of that at the state tournament. I was in like 197th place. But yeah, so it's cool. Like that's cool. Like track was a cool thing though, right? You hung out with your friends and like it's kind of a cool, chilled like environment, right?
I'd say so. I mean, I didn't really have that much friends in track because I was just throwing a ball. I would be there for maybe 20 minutes at the most at a meet, and then I'd be done.
Fair enough. Like I always had fun on like because all I did was throw shot put and discus. They tried to get me to run like a 100-meter relay, and I'm like, dude, I'm 6'2" and I weigh like 245, and I run like a 4'9". Like you don't want me to do that. So that was not for me. But I always had fun on like the road trips, right? Like you're there with all your buddies doing different things, and you just kind of hang out in the bleach. It's like it's about the most chilled sport you can do is track, I think. It's just like
Yeah.
real chilled. It's like nobody cares. Like it's just chill. So you were into art. I think that's awesome, and that relates into what we do, right? With like Mat Clash, right? Like
Yes, sir.
we're very creative. We try to be real creative, and like so. Did that gravitate you to what? Have you played the game with Randall and stuff like that at this point?
I haven't.
Oh my gosh, dude! I'm gonna have to send you a set of Mat Clash. That's what I'm gonna do. I would have gave you one yesterday had I known. I just didn't know. I just assumed like Bob up there, right?
Yes.
Big Bob. All right,
Big Bob Tatum.
dude. That guy. He comes up to me in Chattanooga like, what a month ago maybe. I never seen this kid a lot in my life, right? And he says, dude, I love your card game. I was like, really? Who are you? I didn't know this kid. And the whole day, he's like coming up, giving me fist bumps and like whatever. And yesterday, I left him a hoodie like this one up there to get from Randall or whatever. But apparently, he's like real into it. I just assumed that everybody's played at this point. So you want to qualify for state. You're into art. You ran track. Now you do freestyle and Greco.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any like career, like college goals, like where you want to go with this? Do you anything like that?
I haven't started looking at colleges. I think, though, just looking outside of them, I've had 3 that I want to look into. The first one is, I think this is probably the coolest one, Life University.
Dude, yeah, I've been there. It's awesome.
And then Lindsey Wilson.
Okay.
I've gone to a bunch of their prospect camps. And then there's one, well, actually, I have 2 more. University of the Cumberlands.
Yep.
And then Rio Grande. I definitely want to do that one. Like, there's
funny story. I signed to play football at high school at University of Cumberland. So granted, I didn't get to end up going, but I did sign to play football there. So that's pretty cool. You brought them up. Shout out to Williamsburg, Kentucky, in the middle of nowhere. Life University is awesome, though, dude. Have you ever been down there? in
I
Marietta?
haven't, but I definitely want to whenever they have more of their college tours and stuff. But one of the things too is recruiting. Technically, I can't do it yet. I'm only a freshman,
Right.
so it's just one of those things where I can look into and be like ready by the time that it comes.
Marietta is a unique area down there. It's just kind of the outskirts of where life sits. Is depending on which direction you go, you might end up in the wrong part of town.
Yeah.
But like right there in the like when you pull in, there's like when you turn, there's a wrestling gym up on the hill. The football field's here, and then right up behind it's like the wrestling gym, the building for the room and like the weight room and everything. And there's like this little bridge you go over, and there's like a creek and water, running water. It's like it's really peaceful. I like it down there a lot. It's like a really nice. And Omi, dude, he's like killing it down there, man. Like they broke. I don't know if you knew this. Life broke Grandview's like 15-year streak of national titles in 21. Like, and they've been like second or third every year since. Like, they're nipping at their tails every year. Like, so he's built a powerhouse down there in Georgia, man. And that would be and that would be a great situation because, like, have you seen Khalil? Do you follow him by chance?
Yes, sir.
All right, Khalil, dude, he's a good dude. I love that guy. Shout out, bro, if you see this, I love you, man. Khalil, he has one of the greatest stories in the world, dude. He quit college. He graduated in like 2013. All right, and he dropped out of college at Life Wrestling, and then he worked and whatever, had a baby, whatever he did, and then went back. He was like 30 years old and just become a national runner-up, right? Like, that don't happen. Every time I talk to him, I tell him he's the real-life Van Wilder. And if you don't know that reference, don't watch the movie. It's really bad. But it's about a guy that went back, that's been in college for like a decade. But I call him that. But he told me, he said, dude, we're like 8 deep here. Like, if you want to get better, this is the room to get better. Like, our third string guy would start on like most other programs. He's like, so that's like, it's fierce down there. So they got a great thing going. So that's great. That's on your list, man. Do you know what you're going to major in college? Or do you have
so for high school, I'm completing my plan as early childhood and intro to teaching and learning for that age grouping.
So you want to teach like elementary school kids? Is that kind of what I'm getting?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good luck to you. That's awesome though, man. Do you plan, when your wrestling career is over, do you plan to stay involved with the sport, maybe coach, something like that?
I do plan. I currently do now, but I go back to Williamson County and coach the little kids there. I think that's one of my connections with the whole early childhood thing. That's definitely one of my favorite things.
That
And
is awesome.
then I just plan on coming back to the club. I mean, that or going into high school, maybe middle school, because my middle school was, I think we were the second to worst in the entire county. And I mean, we just had a hard time having people on our team. I think we had last year, whenever I was in 8th grade, wrestling for Heritage, we had, I want to say, 11 people on our team.
Mm-hmm.
And there was about 4 of us that were the same weight. So we were just throwing each other around. I mean, I would switch from wrestling 116 to 122 when I weighed 110.
In middle school.
Yes, sir. So I would be really small girl wrestling all these bigger, already hit puberty boys.
Yeah, it's tough, dude. I got a question. So you go back and coach the little kids?
Yes, sir.
How often do you do that?
So when they're in season, I would usually do that. Our schedule was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I would go back Monday, sometimes Tuesday, because we'd have some practices for high school that I'd have to do. And then Wednesday I did as well.
And you just
that
go
was in
volunteer.
season.
You just go volunteer and help the little kids. All right, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna send you. I got a ton of the leftovers from the dual teams. Okay, for little kids. All right. I got different characters. I'm going to send you a package, okay? And they're U sizes, and, you know, I'll send you 10 or 12. And I'm going to send you a package. And when you go back to those kids, give them singlets.
Yes, sir.
From me, okay? And they'll think you're the super coolest, and they'll remember you. And I think it'll just be a good thing. And I love helping kids. So I'll send you a package. I'm going to send you a set of Mat Clash, and I'll email you the rule set. It's on the back. You can scan the code, but that'll be something cool you can do with your youth kids too. And I think that's awesome. And we've had a pretty cool conversation, and we've related on a lot of things. You know, like that's awesome. You're an awesome kid. I'm rooting for you. To close up, you're wrestling on our dual team.
Yes, sir.
Dude, I'm jacked. I remember you said this to me. You said the other day, I guess yesterday, you said, I wanted one of these, right? That's what you're wanting?
Yes, sir.
That's the one? Okay. But I put them in the bag yesterday at Ground Zero for that girls' dual team. So what's really cool is we're having 2 girls' dual teams. And one of them is these. And man, I hate this camera. All right. And one of them is our Coach Cutter character, who is really based on Ken Hammond's. Have you ever met Coach Ham?
No, sir.
He's at Wilson Central. You'll meet him up there for the duels. He's one of the greatest human beings in the world. And he's got a pink variation for his girls team. So it'll be really neat to have 2 Mat Clash girls teams up there. But what weight are you wrestling up there? 13,
I'm wrestling
14?
117.
17. Okay. I'm going to have to keep track. And Bruner's got some camera crew coming to take some footage. All right. You make sure to grab him and say, hey, Jesse Drennan said to get some footage of me wrestling, and we're going to collaborate on it. All right. Tell him.
Yes, sir.
Go up to him and say, Brandon Bruner, Jesse Drennan said, get me wrestling. All right. So make sure that happens.
Yes, sir.
I've had a pleasure talking to you, sweetheart. I'm really rooting for you. I hope that you reach all your goals. It's amazing that you got through and that 6th grade through 8th grade, and that had to be tough on you in a lot of ways. And you pushed through it, and that shows so much resilience, and props to you. When we get off camera, I'll get your shipping address. We'll get you a package together, and just hang in there. Keep scrapping. I'm a big fan. When we're closing up, tell people if they want to follow you, how they can follow you. You got Instagram, Facebook, whatever that people can follow you. Tell us how they can follow you.
Yes, sir.
At Bella, what is it?
Sanchez.
At Bella Sanchez. Got it. All right, episode 49 of the Bmoney Beastin podcast. I'm here with a stud kid that literally has shown that if she can do it, anybody can do it. Resilience. That's the key word from this episode. Resilience. Episode 49 of the Bmoney Beastin podcast is in the books.